There's only one independent and authoritative news channel, and this is it. Welcome to KTN Prime. I am Ann Kiguta. What a jam-packed bulletin we have for you tonight. The shocking revelations, just what happened so that 42 highly trained and armed police officers would be cut down in the line of duty. We have the details on that story in a short while, and why security agencies are paying a lot of attention to this particular incident as we draw closer to the general election. Also tonight, the Standard Group out to put a smile on your face. Sports fans, you're just going to love the news that we have lined up for you this evening. That information coming up in a short while. Let's start by taking a look at our top stories this hour. Police launch operation for Samburu police killers. Voter registration to officially start on the 19th of November. Time is up. Government now puts traffic offenders on notice. Still on this bulletin, why Mudavadi-Kalonzo alliance is still a remote dream. Good evening, Ann Kiguta here with you. Let's begin with our headline story tonight. And the number of police officers and reservists killed in the Samburu banditry attack has risen to 42. That's after 12 more bodies were recovered in the thickets of Suguta Valley in Samburu South. 3 officers are still unaccounted for. As search and rescue efforts continue, a security operation in the region has been launched amid rising concern and tension and fear of fresh attacks. Catherine Omantho will be joining us in a short while with more information on that story. But let's move on to the elections, and a tough road awaits the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is now working against time to beat its own deadlines. With the March 2013 election date just around the corner, the IEBC has now announced that voter registration will commence on the 19th of November. Asham Wilu reports.
The Commission has resolved that voter registration will commence on the 19th of November 2012. This will go on for 30 days.
At last, voters can breathe a sigh of relief that after delay, one of the most crucial electoral processes is set to kick off. Starting Monday, voters can register for the 2013 general elections. The registration process will be done electronically in 25,000 registration centers set to be gazetted. The 15,000 biometric voter registration kits will, however, have to cater for all the 25,000 centers.
But remember, these equipments are not going to cover every part of the country. We have got 15,000 equipments, and there are 25,000 voter registration centers, which means some kits will go around 3 to 4 stations to help.
The last census conducted in Kenya indicates that 26 million Kenyans are eligible to vote, and the IEBC has set a target of at least 18 million voters to be registered by the 19th of December. And even in areas of great security challenges, the Commission says it's ready for the task.
Special arrangements are made for the troubled areas where we have got special security challenges.
Even though the Commission is gradually picking up following the streak of controversy over the BVR tendering process, time is still its greatest challenge. According to IEBC's initial calendar, registration officers were supposed to have been recruited and trained by the end of July. The listing of voters was supposed to be carried out in the month of August. September had been dedicated to the compilation of the voter register, while October was set aside for inspection of the register. The month of November was ideally devoted towards the certification of the register. Now IEBC has to carry out all these processes by the end of December. The electoral regulations were submitted to the government printer by the IEBC on the 2nd of November and are expected to be gazetted this week. Kenya joins the few African countries that have embraced the biometric voter registration into their electoral systems. Ghana and Sierra Leone are also using the BVR kits this year for the first time in their general elections. Asham Wilu, KTN in Nairobi.
Drivers, be warned. This is the strong message the Ministry of Transport is sending out to motorists across the country as it moves in to reduce road carnage statistics. The ministry has officially launched the new traffic and transport safety laws, which provide, among other things, that reckless drivers who cause death on our roads be jailed for up to 2 years. And as KTN's Betty Callow reports, it will no longer be a smooth ride for border operators.
Last month, Parliament enacted 2 new laws that will radically reform the transport industry. Statistics indicate that every day, 8 people perish due to road carnage. That figure translates to about 3,000 deaths every year, and those are just the reported cases. It is such cases that the new laws seek to tame. But even as the government steps in to reduce these numbers, it is evident that there has been a lot of laxity among motorists who over the years have put on a veil of ignorance when it comes to observing traffic rules. Reckless driving will now attract a jail term of 2 years or a fine of up to 300,000 shillings. Drunk driving will attract a jail term of 2 years or a fine of up to 100,000 shillings. Motorists who overlap in traffic now risk a jail term of 3 months or 30,000 shillings as fine.
We want to make sure that we harmonize your behavior with your intentions. If you get into the transport business and where the transport organizations are here, with the intention of making money from transport, the quickest way of making that profit is by obeying the traffic laws.
85% of road accidents in Kenya are due to human error. Driving under the influence and speeding have also been major contributors to road carnage.
What do you see these days? You actually see a motorbike with a father and a mother at the back and 2 children here, some chicken also hanging and something and a goat at the front. You know what they call family package.
The National Transport and Safety Authority Act 2012 and the Traffic Amendment Act 2012 laws will translate into enhanced efficiency and restoration of law and order in the transport sector. For KTN, I'm Betty Callow.
Let's take you back to our top story. The number of police officers and reservists killed in the Samburu banditry attacks has risen to 42. That's after 12 more bodies were recovered in the thickets of Suguta Valley in Samburu South. 3 officers are still unaccounted for as the search and rescue efforts continue. A security operation in the region has been launched amid rising tension and fears of fresh attacks. Catherine Omwanto reports.
The search for security officers attacked in Suguta Valley, Baragoi, Samburu North District is still going on. The search and rescue team, comprising of the Kenya Red Cross and the Kenya Police, have spent more than 24 hours combing through the thickets, hoping to find an officer alive. In some incidences, their prayers were answered. The team managed to rescue this police reservist and this General Service Unit officer. But on most occasions, the search and rescue team found bodies, 12 more to be exact.
Huko ni mbali katika hiyo milima, tumeenda huko, tumezunguka. Maiti wale tumepata ni zaidi ya 30 na wengi wao ni askari.
By 6 o'clock this evening, the bodies of 42 security officers were found and were loaded onto a police aircraft bound for Nairobi from Baragoi. Plus the 9 officers who are recuperating at the Kenyatta National Hospital, 51 police officers have been accounted for. Unfortunately, 3 more security officers are still missing. And the rescue team will not rest until these 3 officers are found, dead or alive.
The government is going to foot the bills, the hospital bills, of all those injured, both the police and the KPR, whoever will be in any hospital in the country. Some are in Marlal, others are here in Kenya National Hospital. The government is going to meet the hospital bills. Second, the government is also going to meet the burial cost for all those who have been killed.
The Minister for Internal Security visited the wounded officers in hospital, still shocked that bandits could be daring enough to attack security officers. The attack took place at Suguta Valley, also known as Suguta Marmar, an area that is said to be feared by all who live here. In fact, it's known as the Valley of Death. The contingent of security officers were in a lorry deep inside the valley at 4 a.m., possibly catching a night's sleep, perhaps thinking that there was safety in their numbers, but they were wrong. The bandits launched an attack from all sides. Hours later, as rescuers tried to transport the bodies of some of the victims of the attack, the bandits were at it again and tried to shoot down the helicopter, but the attack was not enough to bring down the aircraft. There is a debate as to whether this was just pure bad luck, or that the police department sent a group of security officers to Baragoy without knowledge of the terrain. Either way, officials at the Ministry of Internal Security are on a mission.
We have all resolved that we are going to do justice for everybody. We are going to recover the lost livestock from both sides, and we are going to hit the ground to ensure that those two communities will continue to live in peace.
According to reports on the ground, tension is high and police have sent in reinforcements to Baragoy to find the killers, who are now armed with the weapons of their victims. The bodies of the fallen officers will be brought to Nairobi on Tuesday morning. Catherine Omwando, KTN.
And it certainly does appear that there is an increase in the number of attacks against security officials that are leaving many of them dead. Let's take a look now at the incidents of attacks on law enforcers this year. Well, some of the worst attacks on police officers have been carried out in the war against the terror network, the Al-Shabaab, and the Mombasa Republican Council. Here are some of the incidents. In January, 2 police officers on night patrol were attacked in Likoni by a gang that would later steal their G3 and AK-47 rifles, killing 1 officer. In July, 2 police officers were among 18 people killed and dozens injured in separate attacks in Garissa town during Sunday morning church services. In August, a prison warder was killed, 14 other security officers injured after a grenade was hurled at them during protests over the killing of Muslim cleric Abu Drogo. The following month, a police officer was killed, 9 others wounded when suspected Islamists hurled a grenade at them during a house raid in a clash that left 2 assailants dead. And the list on these sort of killings goes on. Let's now take a look at the officers who've been killed in a banditry or cattle rustling attacks. On May the 3rd, 3 policemen were killed, 4 officers injured in an attack by raiders at a police post in Todonyang. On April the 18th, 2 officers were killed, 5 injured and 1 reported missing after attacks by Merile militiamen along the Kenya-Ethiopia border. And of course, just 2 days ago, cattle rustlers ambushed and killed 42 police officers who were pursuing stolen livestock in Baragoy, Samburu County. Finally then, let's take a look at the officers who've been killed in the recent September Tana Delta massacre and tribal revenge attacks in Kilelengwani village. Those attacks claimed the lives of 5 GSU officers, 2 administration police and 2 regular police officers. Well, as you can imagine, police headquarters is worried about the spate of killings of police officers. The weekend killing of 42 officers by suspected cattle rustlers is raising fears over the state of security in the country. KTN's Denison Sarigo spoke to Deputy Police Spokesman Charles Owino on this worrying trend.
Mr. Owino, for the last 4 months alone, we have lost more than 60 police officers to criminals. Are we losing the war on crime as a police force?
It's not an issue of winning or losing the war on crime. It is an issue of culture, societal culture. It is an issue of how much values do we put into our daily requirements. It's an issue of the nation getting to understand the role of the police. Who is a policeman to you? Because many a times people don't understand that the face of the police is the face of government, that the face of the police is the face of security. And when we lose police officers, it becomes a serious situation to the nation in the sense that it shows a sense of serious either insecurity or insensitivity to the manner in which security is managed. If police officers can lose their lives, then many Kenyans would be worried that what about them?
This is not the first time that police officers are being ambushed in such a manner. Are police officers sleeping on the job, or are the platoon commanders not doing their job well?
An ambush would not mean you are sleeping. An ambush would mean that, you see, what you need to understand is that today if you want to kill 200 policemen in Nairobi, you can do it without us even firing a bullet. But because of morals, police officers are safe. In Nairobi, at times, look at the time these policemen wake up to go to the roadblocks, to go to the roundabout. Go to Parliament roundabout, at 5 you'll find a policeman, one, not even two, alone. Go along Thika Road, at 7, at 8, at 9, even at 10, you'll find single policemen with just batons. So if you're a criminal and you want to use your firearm to kill a policeman, you will do it. Police officers are following stock. If rustlers decide to sit in the bush or agree with the locals decide that they are going to kill policemen, they would kill policemen. That is why I'm talking about morality. Long before you would kill one policeman, the government will send 100 GSU people, and nobody would attempt. We are not saying that is the best way to deal with people, that now when we have been hit, we send people. But we must, the government must come up. We must come up very strongly to show that if you touch one policeman, one, even his ear, then you have touched the inner core of the government.
Instead of this knee-jerk reaction we always get from the police force, where we deploy hundreds of police officers in an event, policemen are killed or villagers are killed, are we looking at a new way of addressing these challenges that are facing the police force?
Once the Inspector General will be in place in a month or so, God willing, we are going to have a man or a woman that will be protected by the Constitution, that will not be at the mercy of any person, neither at the mercy of the public, as long as he does the right thing. We pray that as a team, we are going to come up, and together with the Police Service Commission, the Independent Police Oversight Authority, and even the National Commission on Human Rights, going to come up with policies that will be able to protect police officers, come up with stringent measures that any person who attempts to interfere, to think of, or even plan, or even kill a police officer or harm him while on duty will serve as a lesson to the rest of the society. And when this happens, it's going to help us to deter these cases where we find people are handling police officers as if they don't understand the role of police in the society.
And that exclusive interview with the Deputy Police Spokesman Charles Uwino leads us to our big question tonight. We're asking you, is the public doing enough to assist the police in the war against criminals? Please do send us your yes or no opinion. Our SMS number is 8040. We look forward to reading your responses and sampling those views at the end of this live newscast. Well, the shooting of rioting youth by the police in Kisumu at the height of the 2007 post-election violence returned to haunt police spokesman Eric Kiraithe as he appeared before the panel searching for a police inspector general. Kiraithe was at pains to explain why he defended the police who were engaged in extrajudicial killings. KTN's Wilkesanyawa reports on the proceedings on the last day of the interviews for the top position in the police service.
The eighth candidate for the position of Inspector General of the Police Service, Eric Kibara Kiraithe, turned up before the National Police Service Commission for his interview in full police uniform. The 48-year-old police spokesman would, however, be felled by allegations leveled against him by members of the public. Kiraithe was hard put to defend his pronouncements in the face of allegations that at the height of the post-election violence in 2008, he had termed the shooting of a civilian by a police officer in Kisumu as a Rambo movie.
I never mentioned Rambo movie. I never mentioned anything to do with the movie, but I used the word manipulation.
Another member of the public alleged that Kiraithe had used his position to intimidate a section of individuals into dropping cases that they had filed in court. This he denied too.
I am totally guilty of no wrongdoing. This is a case witnessed by 2 lawyers.
But in the face of a third claim, the police spokesman would turn on his accusers, claiming they were out to extort him and ruin his chances of securing the position of Inspector General. In the case, a research assistant had accused Kiraithe and his wife of securing his help on a dissertation and thereafter refusing to pay for his services. Kiraithe claimed that parties who knew of the matter later tried to blackmail him.
It would be Mr. Kiraithe, for us not to destroy your bait, you will have to give us 300,000. I told him, my friend, I will not give you 5 bob.
The police spokesman had been preceded by Peter Mwangi Macharia, who faced the difficult task of defending himself against claims that during his time as a prosecutor, he forcefully and violently ejected a magistrate from the officer's mess. Mary Oyugi Kaul was the 9th and last candidate interviewed for the position of Inspector General. The Johnston Kavuludi-led commission is now set to embark on interviews for the 2 positions of Deputy Inspector General. While their experience initially seemed to give them an advantage, the past came back to haunt a section of the candidates who were interviewed for the position of Inspector General of the Police, and now it remains to be seen which of the 9 shortlisted candidates will secure the panel's nomination for the position. Reporting for KTN at the Kenyatta International Conference Center, I'm Wilkes Anyabwa.
Standard Group has a new kid on the block. Game Yetu is an all-sports newspaper that was launched today at the Standard Group headquarters on Mombasa Road. The newspaper seeks to provide informative and sizzling analysis about sports, touching on stories from within and without. Game Yetu is the first newspaper of its kind to be launched and sold in the country and will be on sale on Tuesdays and Saturdays when sports is usually at its peak. Game Yetu will also pay keen interest on tantalizing gossip in the sports world. The first edition will be sold tomorrow when you will have an opportunity to meet with Standard Group staff, including reporters and news anchors. The 24-page newspaper will be sold at 30 shillings only. While speaking during a meeting with vendors soon after the launch, Standard Group CEO Sam Shuley expressed his gratitude and optimism that Game Yetu will not only change how people view sports, but also benefit vendors.
Nyinyi marafiki na mandugu zangu, hii kazi tumeanzisha ni wenu. Okay. Itatusaidia sisi kama kampuni ya Standard Media Group na nyinyi wenyewe. Kwa hivyo tegemeo letu kwamba tujifanyie hii kazi. Hakuna mtu atatoka nje kutufanyia kazi. Hii gazeti ina uwezo kuuza hata 200,000 copies. Kwa hivyo na sisi zote tutakuwa matajiri.
And Nicholas Medimba from KTN Sports Today now joins us from the Pan-Afric, where the evening launch is going on from Game Yetu. Over to you, Nick.
Thank you, Ann Kiguta in studio. We are here at Nairobi Hotel, where the newest baby in the Standard Group family is the only pure sports newspaper that will be coming to you on Tuesdays and Saturdays. It's being launched here at this luncheon at this Nairobi Hotel. And of course, something special about this Game Yetu magazine. It will be coming to you twice a week, and of course, the Standard Group staff will give Kenyans a new dawn tomorrow when they'll be selling these magazines at strategic places in Nairobi. And of course, this magazine it's a countrywide magazine, not only in Nairobi, but tomorrow, a viewer, you'll be able to have a copy at an unbelievable price, only 30 shillings from Standard Group staff. Something else about it, it will be a bi-weekly magazine coming to you every Tuesdays and Saturdays. And Kiguta, we are here at this Nairobi Hotel, and of course, the management, friends of Standard Group, and the football, and of course, other sports stakeholders are all here to celebrate the new baby born in the family of Standard Group. We'll be giving you more details in tomorrow's bulletins. Back to you, Ann Kiguta.
Thanks very much, Nicholas. Game Yetu, be sure to get your copy tomorrow. You are watching KTN Prime, and just ahead, Martha Karua's dilemma on Succession 2030.
Well, you are watching your home of business. Good evening, I'm Boni Tunya. The first rail line constructed by Independent Kenya is set for official launch this Tuesday, dubbed the Syokimau Railway Station. KTN's Michael Karanja was on a mission to find out more about this facility and brings us this story.
Syokimau Railway Station is a first in many aspects. For starters, it is the first railway station to be built by Kenya Railways in over 8 years. And tomorrow, President Mwai Kibaki will be here to officially open the railway station. When you take your first step into the newly constructed railway station, you'll be mistaken to think that you're somewhere in Europe. Kenya's first train station in over 8 decades is an architectural masterpiece that captures the aspirations of a country with a goal of turning itself into a middle-income country. Built at an estimated 200 million shillings, the plan to roll out commuter train services lies within the National Integrated Transport Policy, which seeks to instill sanity in the public transport sector. With traffic snarl-ups a constant headache for most motorists, the commuter rail system, if it works in the way envisioned, offers relief for those going into the central business district. The CBD Syokimau line will eventually extend to the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Kenya Railways has arranged with public transport companies to start temporary shuttle services between Syokimau and JKIA until a new 6-kilometer track is built to link the section. The railway station is the first in a series of 4 railway stations built within Nairobi to ease traffic congestion. The park and ride idea behind the commuter rail system will see motorists park their cars at the station at a base rate of 100 shillings, procure a daily ticket worth another 100 shillings, and enjoy a 15 to 20-minute ride into the CBD. The plan aims at reducing Nairobi's reliance on matatu transport and eliminates traffic jams that have become common in the city. The railroad is part of a larger 24 billion shilling urban transport network that will connect Nairobi's assets within the central business district. Other station divisions in the Nairobi Commuter Rail Master Plan include new railway stations in Jogoo Road's Makadari Estate, Mombasa Road's Imara Daima, and Nairobi's Moi Avenue. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
Well, the Central Bank of Kenya has granted a license to Sumac DTM Limited to carry out nationwide deposit-taking microfinance business. Sumac DTM Limited becomes the 8th deposit-taking microfinance institution to be licensed following the licensing of 6 nationwide DTMs and 1 community-based DTM. Sumac shareholding is predominantly held by local Kenyan individuals and corporate entities. Sumac DTM Limited has set up its head office and branch in Ngara, Nairobi. The DTM's primary focus is micro and small enterprise as well as financially excluded population. DTM is also intends to target private individuals such as salaried employees, professionals as well as students, and corporate and institutional market segments such as NGOs, SACCOs, amongst others. Kenya's economy is expected to grow by 5.6% in 2013 from an estimated 5.1% this year, picking up on recovery in the last 2 quarters of 2012. Now, this is according to the finance minister in a budgetary review and outlook presentation that the GDP growth was expected to pick up to 6.8% in the 4th quarter of 2012 from 6.4% in the 3rd quarter, helped by a rebound in agriculture, construction, wholesale and retail. Philip Keitani has more.
The revised projections comes as Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee warned that the impact of continued volatility in international oil prices, the spillover effect of the slowdown in global economic growth on the domestic economy, and the balance of payment pressures emanating from the high current account deficit remain the main risk in the country's macroeconomic outlook. Speaking at the official launch of the 2013-2014 sector hearing, Finance Minister Njeru Githae noted that the country is still faced with a myriad of challenges emanating from both within and without. Githae explained that the dismal performance of the economy in the first half of the year, coupled with the unrelenting global economic crisis, called for caution in the growth of projections. Kenya's economic growth declined in the 2nd quarter, with most sectors registering subdued activities. But even as the economy continues to paint a grim outlook, the cost of living dropped, with the overall month-on-month inflation falling to 4.14% in October from 5.32% in September. According to data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the economy expanded by 3.3% compared to the growth of 3.5% in a similar period last year. Inflation slowed for the 11th consecutive month in October, pushing central bank to further lower interest rates, cutting its prime lending rate to commercial banks by 200 basis points to 11% from 13% in September. Githae, however, pointed out that a lot more still need to be done to tackle new forms of insecurity and terrorism, improve physical and ICT infrastructure, the improved access of credit facilities and financial services, and increase uptake of technology and development of comprehensive policies, regulatory and institutional framework to implement the Constitution. Philip Keitan for KTN Business Today.
Mobile operator Safaricom is the winner of this year's Champions of Governance Awards organized by the Institute of Public Secretaries. Now, the awards come at a time the country's corporate and public institutions are instilling tough guidelines on corporate governance to safeguard public interest and renew investor confidence. The parameter is used to evaluate the institutions for their respective categories, including transparency and disclosure, adherence to laws and regulations, conduct of annual general meetings, as well as stakeholders' values, corporate social responsibilities, and as well as many other categories. Now, other winners in the awards were George Mati, chairman of the Thuraka Nidhi Sacco, chairman of the year, Livingston Murage of NIC Bank as company secretary of the year, and Bob Colimo as CEO of the year. The institution intends to extend the award to devolved government units expected next year, with governors and county officers also evaluated. And now let's take a look at what is making news in other business headlines coming up in the corporate briefs. Emirates Group posted a $575 million net profit for the first 6 months of the year ending 30th September 2012, up 68% from the $343 million reported for a similar period last year. Emirates has expanded its employee base, increasing its overall staff count by more than 8% in just 6 months to nearly 68,000. Despite the impressive results, the airline continued to take a beating from high fuel prices, which accounted for 39% of their expenditures. Elsewhere, corporate internet and IT solutions provider Access Kenya Group is pushing for increased fiber connectivity uptake in the next financial year. The company says it is considering investing over 120 million shillings in 2013 towards deploying fiber solutions to the corporate sector in Kenya. Access Kenya's fixed internet subscriptions rose 81.7% in the second quarter of 2012 compared to last year. Early in the year, Access Kenya embarked on a network expansion program, spending about 100 million shillings that has seen the national fiber footprint extend to over 400 kilometers in both Nairobi and Mombasa. Finally, General Electric has launched an anesthesia delivery system into the Kenyan market. The system, dubbed Care Station 30, allows caregivers to view patient data and alarm indicators on a color display, allowing efficient access to critical information. General Electric expects Care Station 30 to impact routine and emergency surgery in rural areas. General Electric, however, says the equipment is not economically viable in all markets. And now time for your market numbers in the Financial Markets Review, coming up next. Well, and that's your business. My name is Boni Tunya. Good night.
Let's catch up with some more news. Where is Kenya's political iron lady, the Honorable Martha Karua? Well, this is the question in the minds of many Kenyans as the presidential election slowly takes shape in the wake of the latest opinion polls. Well, for some presidential contenders, the numbers are not looking very good, more so for those who are not engaged in alliance talks with the so-called big names in the 2013 race. On Succession 2013 tonight, KTN's Noah Otieno looks at the place of Martha Karua in this latest political developments.
The numbers are relentlessly relegating the likes of Peter Kenneth and Martha Karua to the chase groups of the trailblazing top 5, and once again, the figures came out screaming about the possible winning combinations for Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. This month's Infotrack poll now shows that Raila can take the presidency in the first round of the election if he takes Kalonzo Musyoka as running mate, no matter whom Uhuru takes as deputy. The poll also shows that Raila can win if he takes William Ruto as deputy, beating Uhuru Kenyatta's ticket, whether Uhuru takes Kalonzo Musyoka or Musalia Mudavadi as running mate, and the same would apply if Raila has Musalia Mudavadi as deputy. Political analysts say this simply means that if Raila gets any of the kingmakers of the three of Kenya's big ethnic groups, it is game over.
The issue is numbers, because Kenyan politics are played along ethnic lines all over Africa, and we can't deny that fact. And right now, it's very apparent that the winning coalitions are those that bring in major ethnic groups. Kikuyu, Luya, Luo, Kamba, Kisi, Kalenjin, and so forth.
The numbers speak the exact same language if the situation is reversed and Uhuru clinches a deal with the big names to the exclusion of Raila Odinga. If, for example, Uhuru gets Musalia Mudavadi as running mate and Raila fails to get any of the big guns, Uhuru would elope with a clear-cut win, trouncing Raila Odinga with up to 54% of the vote. The same would apply if Uhuru gets William Ruto while Raila gets Peter Kenneth, or if Uhuru convinces Kalonzo Musyoka to form a ticket with him while Raila gets Charity Ngilu as running mate. But the question now is, what does this mean for those whose names are only being floated as running mates and not as willing candidates? Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi's teams are not amused by these latest polls, and they are not mincing words in expressing their anger.
What is currently being reported as opinion polls, with all the respect we have for pollsters, we want to say that that is wishful thinking, because at no time has the Wiper presented Mheshimiwa Kalonzo Musyoka as a running mate for anybody, neither has the UDF presented Musalia Mudavadi as a running mate for anybody.
But Kalonzo Musyoka and Musalia Mudavadi are not nearly in the same quagmire as Martha Karua and Peter Kenneth. Since Martha comes a distant 6th in the polls and does not even feature favorably in the list of preferred running mates, her options seem alarmingly limited.
Na mimi siogopi opposition. Mtu aje kuja na uje na watu yako. Tutaonana kwa kiwanja. Asanteni.
The coalition creators are aware. They are aware that Central Kenya is taken. It's taken by Uhuru Kenyatta and TNA. So in the bag of Central Kenya, the goodies don't belong to Martha Karua. They belong to TNA and Uhuru Kenyatta. Basically, her basket or her bag is empty. People know that. And this, of course, is guided by the political opinion polls, which have constantly rated her below 5. She has been running for the last 1.5 years when she declared interest. But if you look at the opinion polls, she has constantly ranked below 5. So people looking at her see her as coming and bring less on the table.
The dilemma for those who don't look like they belong in the winning combinations is that they are now losing even those who have stuck by them all along. NARC Kenya has now lost Garsen MP Danson Mungatana to the National Alliance of Uhuru Kenyatta.
Wale wamebaki nyuma, tunawaambia turudi pamoja, tukue timu moja, tuhakikishe ya kwamba president ni nani? President ni nani?
Martha Karua has very little to bring to any coalition that gets her. Because the credential she will hold very strongly is that she's a woman. But Charity Ngilu already offers that. The other potential she bring on the table is that she's negotiating from Central Kenya. Uhuru Kenyatta almost offers that 3-4 times over. Peter Kenneth might offer actually the next best from Central Kenya. So Martha Karua comes almost third best in Central Kenya.
The trouble for Karua is that the defections, including the departure of Mike Mbuvi, Elias Sonko, and William Kabogo, now entrench Karua's picture as the ultimate Lone Ranger.
Martha Karua likes to play Lone Ranger politics. And Lone Ranger politics don't work anywhere in the world. You must be a team player. But she's not a good team player. Otherwise, how else does she seem to differ with almost everybody?
But Karua is seemingly a victim of the big tribe politics Kenya seems unable to shake off. And she's not the only one. Her fate is also shared among almost 7 other presidential aspirants who do not have the advantage of being the kingmakers of the big 5 tribes. Now, Tino KTN for Succession 2013.
Supersport and MultiChoice have become the single largest sponsor to this year's Safaricom Sportsman Personality of the Year award. Elsewhere, Moses Mailel from West Pokot needed 1 hour, 2 minutes and 52 seconds to win the inaugural Menengai Geothermal Half Marathon held in Nakuru town.
The South African-based pay TV channel SuperSports and MultiChoice joined other co-sponsors by injecting in 2.5 million shillings. The sponsorship will be split into 2. 1 million shillings will be channeled to the organizers, and the balance will be the production costs during the December 6th gala to be held at the Carnival grounds. The general manager of MultiChoice Kenya, Danny Mushira, presented the check in Nairobi on Monday morning.
We decided to create a comeback award, and we didn't have a sponsor for it. We didn't have enough money to be able to spread it out. So for us, this is actually just a dream come true. And having SuperSport on board, knowing that it's a terrestrial continental channel, it will just hype and probably boost our awards.
Because MultiChoice over the last 2 decades committed to really local content and also talent development. For us, this is a perfect platform to just come and recognize our world-beating athletes on our own stage.
From Nakuru, Hosea Mailel pocketed 100,000 shillings on Sunday after winning the first edition of the Menengai Geothermal Half Marathon. The athlete from West Pokot took 1 hour, 2.52 minutes to beat a strong field. Mailel, who trains in Eldoret, benefited from the experience gained from running alongside some of the country's finest runners. Kipkoech Lagat was second, while Peter Chesang was third. Elizabeth Romoko won the ladies' race in 1 hour, 11 minutes. Joshua Kemboi, KTN Sports Today.